Claude Opus 4.6 is finally here and everyone's calling it a game changer. But is it actually that good? And some benchmarks here, Opus 4.5 still wins in real agent coding task. So the hype doesn't tell the full story. In this video, we're doing a deep dive into what Opus 4.6 is really good at and where it quietly underperforms, and at fusing surprising features that no one's talking about. Starting off, the new Claude Opus 4.6 says it improves on its predecessor's coding skills, which if you Claude Opus is the best AI for coding. I don't even think that's up for debate at this point. It said it plans more carefully, sustains agentic tasks for longer, can operate more reliably in a larger code base, and has better code review and debugging skills to catch its own mistakes. And for the Opus models, Opus 4.6 features a 1 million token context window, which is in beta right now. And that's huge because having a larger context window means that Claude can see a lot more at one go, instead of having to piece up large running processes. And also for larger enterprise companies who have not just thousands, tens of thousands, but hundreds of thousands, if not millions of lines of code, Anthropic can now be able to see a lot more of the picture in one shot. It says Opus 4.6 can also apply its improved abilities to arrange everyday tasks, financial analysis, doing research, and use it for creating documents and spreadsheets and presentations. They said the model is actually really good and outperforms a lot of its competitors. It says that Opus 4.6 outperformed the industry's next best model, OpenAI's ChatGPT 5.2, by around 144 ELO points, and its predecessor, Claude Opus 4.5, by 190. On the GDP Val AA, an evaluation that performs on economical valuable knowledge work. So basically, how well this AI does when it comes to things that bring value. Basically taking shots there at ChatGPT. But just here, where you see in this graph where it talks about knowledge work, you see that Opus 4.6 outperforms the rest of the models, including Gemini 3 and ChatGPT 5.2. Even though ChatGPT 5.3 came out literally 10 minutes after Opus, it still seems like currently their previous models, ChatGPT 5.2, Opus 4.6 still outperforms it. And I'll be doing a video later on comparing the two. So you should definitely like and subscribe to keep up to date with these models and to actually see how well they do head to head. This knowledge work is a state of the art on real world work tasks across several professional domains. And we see that Opus clears it when it comes to this benchmark. We also see another one, which is an agentic search, which is an industry for deep multi-step agentic search, which basically tests multi-step agentic search processes. And we see that it beats out everyone, even with ChatGPT 5.2 Pro. But we do see that ChatGPT 5.2 Pro did beat out Opus 4.5 previously. So their previous models, ChatGPT 5.2 was actually better. But now, when it comes to coding, and we know how good ChatGPT coding is, at least when it comes to agentic coding, we saw that previously ChatGPT 5.2 actually beat out Opus 4.5, but we see 4.6 is actually beating out all the previous models thus far. As we know, there's a cycle to all of these where we see it's Gemini 1 week, Anthropic the next, ChatGPT the next, right? And then we may get like a open source Chinese model like a DeepSeek that comes afterwards. And now we're in the Anthropic era. We also see one that has one for reasoning, which tests how well an AI has when it comes to expert level reasoning. And this is humanity's last exam, multidisciplinary reasoning. And we see that, well, Opus 4.6 again clears it. And that's all fine and good, but what people really haven't been talking about was Claude's code agentic teams, which allows you to use not just one agent, but many agents. And these aren't the same as one agent has many sub agents. These are all kind of individual agents that work together in collaboration. Even though they will have one head agent that kind of directs the other agents, you can still talk to the sub agents independently, which usually isn't normal. Most of the time, when you have agents, you have one AI that then controls a lot of other agents. I even talked about that with Kimi K2, where you control up to 100 agents, but you don't really control the agents independently. You just control that one main agent and it deploys the other hundreds. This one, all the agents kind of report to you. You're the real head agent out of all the sub agents, and you can change their task and everything within Claude's Opus 4.6 to get a lot more done. Also, Claude uses compaction to help you save on credits and token use. If you ever use AI for long periods of time, you know that as code bases or any other tasks change and gets larger, the more you have to work out the kinks in order to play around with the context window an AI has. But using compaction, the AI actually summarizes other tasks or past tasks that you've done so that it can summarize it to make it a smaller token size, but still knowing what to do and how to do it. And they're also rolling out adaptive thinking, which is where the model can pick up contextual clues about how much to use its extended thinking, as well as this new effort controls to give developers more control over intelligence, speed, and cost, where the efforts allow it to change how much effort the AI is being put into it, which can save you on a lot more credits when it comes to different tasks. So they also made really good upgrades in Claude and Excel, where you see here where this one is actually doing a lot of different Excel formulas. As I said earlier, this can do a lot of financial analysis, create PowerPoints and everything. They said that the Claude Opus 1.6 is available today on Claude.ai and where all major platforms that use Claude API. So I'm guessing that means like Cursors, the Windsurfs, and those different type of platforms. We already know that Claude is pretty pricey, so it's coming in at a price which is the same, $5 to $25 per million tokens. But what nobody's talking about is, for the higher model size, the bigger context window, the million tokens, that can be bumped up to a lot more. The million token range, if you go over 200k tokens, it can be bumped up to $10 to $37.50 per million tokens, which is a huge bump, especially considering that Claude is usually one of the most expensive models out there. There are also just different companies that had Opus 4.6 that were just gushing over it and pretty much just glazing Claude Opus, like we see here at Notion and GitHub, and just a few other ones that were just talking really good about it, which is not a problem. But of course they're gonna really like the new model. Every new model is usually better than all the rest of them, and Opus 4.6 seems to be no difference. But when it comes to head-to-head with all the models, we see here that Opus 4.6 clears the board for most of the evaluations. A few things to note is that for Opus 4.6 clears the board on agentic terminal, agentic computer use, agentic tool use, agentic search, multidisciplinary reasoning, agentic financial analysis, which is pretty cool, and office task, meaning that instead of Opus 4.6 coming for developers and programmers, they're now coming for, everyday office workers, as well as novel problem solving. But it's also some discrepancies where we also see that when it comes to agentic coding and scaled tool use, that Opus 4.5 actually beats out Opus 4.6. And agentic coding is not by much, so I'm not even sure if that really matters. It's kind of like splitting hairs there. And scaled tool use, you would think with the 1 million token size that it would actually be better than Opus 4.5 there. But those are things to keep in mind if you are using or trying to upgrade to the Opus 4.6 models, to understand that even though it is the latest model, it's not best all around. We even see here with graduate level reasoning that ChatGPT 5.2, the earlier model, is still better than Opus 4.6. Mind you, ChatGPT just came out with 5.3. So how much better is it now over their latest Opus 4.6? As well as for visual reasoning, we see that for visual reasoning, Gemini 3 Pro still has the edge over ChatGPT 5.2 and their latest Opus 4.6 model. And when it comes to with tools, ChatGPT 5.2 still takes the cake. But when it comes to multilingual Q&A, Gemini comes back up again. So it's important to keep in mind the use cases of which model you want to use it for. So if you're using it for coding, everyday office work, Opus 4.6 seems to have the rest of the competition beat. But when it comes to different things like multilingual Q&A, visual reasoning, graduate level reasoning, you may still want to stick with the Gemini or ChatGPT 5.2, especially if you don't have the deep pockets to be using all the money up on these two type of AIs, because Claude is very expensive, with Gemini and ChatGPT being, well, more affordable. Another thing that they said they're improved on was their context swap, where the performance degrades as conversations exceed a certain number of tokens. They said Opus 4.6 performs better than its predecessors on the 8 Nito 1 million variant of MRC RV2, which is basically a needle in a haystack. Basically, you give it a lot of data, maybe give them multiple books. And in these multiple books, they need to find an answer to one question, or maybe a sentence, or maybe the name of a person that was only mentioned once out of all these books. These are the type of questions that are being asked inside of these type of exams, and we see that when it comes to the long context retrieval, that Opus 4.6 actually performs pretty good, as well as long context reasoning. I mean, you can give it a lot of data, and in most people's use cases of Claude Opus 4.6, a lot of data is, well, code, and it can still understand the minute detailed nature in order to figure out different things. Not only that, more about the coding, we see that when it comes to root cause analysis, but by OpenRCA, that it does really good at finding, well, the main issue for bugs, because sometimes AIs can fix the bug that appears, but that may not be the actual main reason why the code is failing. Another one is multilingual coding. So this is not like different languages like Spanish, English, French. This is multilingual coding, meaning like C#, Python, JavaScript. And you see that it actually performs better, not by much, but better than Opus 4.5. We just saw the long-term coherence, where we see that Opus 4.6 does a lot better than actually a lot of the other models by far. They even came out with a cybersecurity one where it actually finds real vulnerabilities in code bases better than any other model. So if you want to secure up your code base and your vibe coding, maybe you could write in another language and have Claude Opus 4.6 come in and make sure it's secure. And then I have one for life sciences, which is pretty good. And going back to the cybersecurity part, we do see that Claude Opus 4.6 has cut out different things like being sycophantic, meaning that it's trying to just people please, as well as it understands if you're trying to make it do things that it shouldn't do. So it aligns better with what risks are involved by doing certain tasks, and then understanding it and then saying no to those tasks, as well as not trying to please you and making sure they're just trying to do good work, and that's their main goal. And also is better when it comes to aligning more with the tasks that you have in hand. All in all, Opus 4.6 is pretty good, but like I said, I'll be doing a video on ChatGPT 5.3 here pretty soon. But for coding, I would think hands down, Claude Opus 4.6 is where you should be going to. And now for the office task, which I think I may be trying that out more thoroughly now, is the next frontier. It seems like that Claude Opus is going for. That is cybersecurity. So over the next few years, maybe even months, we may see huge leaps and bounds, not just in Opus, but in Gemini and ChatGPT for more office tasks like PowerPoints, presentations, Excel's, formula analysis, and different things like that. If you want to keep up to date with the latest and greatest AI news, you should definitely like and subscribe. With that being said, your boy Dexter out.